La 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 Adam's little vlog.
Tally ho everybody, this is Heap Games, Adam speaking, and I'm here to show you another one of my precious little noodles. This is a Western Hognose. Quite a young one, quite small. We believe that he's male, and his name is Lord Nibbles of Porkington. Nibbles for short. But he is absolutely lovely. There we are. Beautiful coloration on this guy. Albino, however you want to say it. And he is covered in soil because he's got a bit more of a specific substrate. These guys love to burrow. They absolutely love it. And for a while we had aspen. And we had, mostly just aspen. And he wasn't quite as fond of that. A lot of the time he would be searching around his enclosure, he'd be up against the glass, he'd be moving around. So we replaced it with a soil-based mixture. And we never see him. He's just constantly buried. I spent about 10 minutes searching for him in order to make this video. And that's a good thing, because the more a hognose is happy to stay buried, the happier it tends to be usually. He is a bugger for eating though. He is an absolute nightmare for eating. My other snakes, they eat like clockwork. This guy, not so much. And I'm not sure if that's... I think it's not too uncommon with hognoses. You can give them like, what's it called, whitebait or something like that. Of course you can feed them mice, which is what we tend to try to feed him, but he's just a bit of a nightmare about it. By the way, why is it called a Western Hognose? Bring you up here again. Pretty simple reason. Look at that nose. Now, that's a very hard nose. Quite unique among snakes. And he'll use that to, bury himself. So he'll upturn pebbles and hard bits of substrate. And you'll use that to get underneath the ground, won't you? Yeah, you little bugger. I'm not sure how well you can see him because the light is quite bright here. They are diurnal, so the bright light is not really deterrent as it was with the house snakes. I just hope there's not too much glow on my hand that you can actually see him. I'll move them closer for you there. They can get a bit larger than this, quite a lot larger than this really. Females more than the males, as tends to be the case with a lot of snakes. But they're very stumpy, certainly not climbers. I mean, he's got something to climb on in his enclosure, and it's hilarious watching him fall over. Thankfully, he doesn't do it that much. It's a little treat, more for us than for him. He's also got a pink castle. The other half, even though he's a bloke, the other half insists on putting pink things. He's got some flowers that he likes to frolic in. These snakes are venomous, by the way, but not very much. It tends to get compared to a bee sting. So if this little guy were to nibble on you, then unless you're allergic, you're not going to be in too much trouble. Now it usually goes in a 3-stage progression, as far as I'm concerned. So if they're feeling threatened, they will tend to flatten themselves like a cobra. And then they might false strike. So Nibbles has done it before when he's been a bit peeved about my intruding upon his private time. And he will flatten his neck out and spread his head wide, and he tries to impersonate a cobra, which we just laugh at him for, really. Sorry, Nibbles, but it's not the most convincing. You're about as intimidating as a cocktail stick. So we'll do that, and they'll probably do a false strike. You see, he's trying to bury himself in my hand as we speak. I don't want to keep him too much longer. He might want to go back into his soil, but they might false strike, which they'll butt you with their nose. And it's hilarious watching him doing it. He's quite a hilarious snake all round, really. He'll just sort of fling himself. Just go with a little. Me and my girlfriend tend to do that to each other now when we're a bit pissed off. When we're mildly pissed off at each other, we'll just go, we'll nibbles each other. So that's stage 1. Stage 2 is they'll play dead. Now, thankfully, Nibbles hasn't really done that before. So they'll secrete an odour as well, which is quite foul smelling. He's done that once or twice, but he hasn't done the full play dead, as in roll over, mouth open, tongue out. Bleh. He hasn't done that with us yet, so we've only sort of gone halfway into stage 2. Stage 3 is the bite. Now, that doesn't happen very often, and you've got to piss them off to a mighty fine degree. And, of course, being venomous, you'd think, well, you get envenomated. You're going to have a bad time. But they're rear-fanged snakes. So you've got your vipers with the fangs at the front here. There's the rear-fanged snakes like these, corn snakes, the house snakes. The fangs are towards the back of the mouth, and that's where any venom, if they had it, would come from. And that's where you put the venom in. So if he wanted to envenomate me, he'd have to be chewing on me for a little bit. So I'm not scared of this little noodle. There we go. Let's get a good view of him there. There we go. He's got sore all over your face, you silly bugger. Absolutely beautiful animals. I just wish he was a better eater. It'd be fantastic if he was a better eater. Wonderful animals. I'd say sort of semi-beginner snake. Beginners, obviously, like corn snakes and potentially royal pythons and stuff like that. But these, a bit more difficult to take care of, because they live in a slightly different environment. They love to burrow, so you need to account for that. You need quite a thick layer of substrate, because you could have soil, but if it's 1 centimetre deep, then they're not going to be able to burrow sufficiently. So yeah, you need a good thick amount of substrate, and just be aware that they'll spend most of their time underneath it. And you might not see him all that often. But thankfully you've come out for us today, haven't you, Nibbles? There he is. And he's got the dopiest little smile as well. Come on. You want to turn towards the camera? You want to turn towards the camera? See your dopey smile. Come on, Nibs. There it is. Close enough. You are a little nuisance, aren't you? One thing with snakes I want to put at the end of this video is health checks, because I haven't done this for any of the others, but health checks are quite important when you've got a pet snake. And the best ways to do this, there's a few things to look at. Firstly, the eyes. Now this can be quite telling if your snake is going to a shed. If the eyes are turning sort of dull or blue, that tends to mean your snake is going into a shed. Just before they go into a shed, their eyes will clear up again, and then within a day or so they tend to shed their skin. Their mouth as well. Mouths on snakes will tend to be closed unless they've like just recently eaten, or where they're yawning or something like that. It's hilarious watching a snake yawn. But if the mouth is constantly sort of slightly like that, then you might have a mouth not you. They might have a mouth infection or something of that ilk. The body itself, if you find lumps on your snake, that tends to not be very good, unless of course they've just eaten or they're overweight. Speaking of overweight, you want the body of your snake to be like a loaf of bread. If it's got like a McDonald's shape on top, so it goes like that, then your snake is too fat. Be like me, really. Or if your snake is more like a triangle shape, probably too thin. Of course, this can vary by species, but it's sort of a general rule. And the cloaca as well. So near the end of a tail of a snake, you'll tend to find a bit where either the scale pattern changes or it sort of goes like that. That is where the cloaca is. And if that's flat and pretty much unnoticeable, then it tends to be a sign that the snake is healthy. If there's something seriously noticeable there, then yeah, you've probably got a problem. But those are some of the general rules for snake health check. And I don't know why I've done this with Nibbles here. I thought, why not? But I hope you have the merriest of bloody Merry Christmases. We've got our tree up. Nibbles, do the honours of licking the tree. There you go. It's not a real tree, it's a plastic one. I'm too poor to afford a real tree. Right, so have a Merry Christmas. And remember, pets are for life, not just for Christmas. I haven't had any of my snakes for Christmas. which is good. It means I've kept them, so just remember that. And if you are planning to get a pet snake, make sure that you know what you're doing. Because if you don't know what you're doing, then it's going to turn one day too big, and you'll end up chucking it in the back garden or eat all the local cats, which would be a good thing, but unfortunately that's currently against the law. Right, so ta-ra from me. What are you going to say, Nibbles? Have you got something to say? Look at that dope little face. Bye. See you later.